Hello, ladies and gents. Welcome to the Flash Quotes podcast, the world's greatest podcast for mobile event businesses like yours or the one that you should start. Which leads me into today's topic on this beautiful day, joined by Zach and Justin to talk about starting a mobile coffee cart business in 30 days with 10K or less. Why do we have the right to talk about this? Well, I kind of don't. I'm just a software developer, but we are joined by the very handsome and bearded Justin Goodhart with his 3,000 plus events last year, 5 cities, 40 plus cards, all these big numbers. He has done what most people have not done in this space and has a wealth of knowledge and insights to graciously share with you today. They say that people who can't do teach, but Justin can both do and teach. So he is a champion amongst men. I love you, bro.
Love you, bro.
With that said, let's jump right in. Justin, you've been doing this for about 8 years, since 2017, and I want you to envision yourself then being visited by the ghost of your future self, and let's just explore what you would say. And as we're thinking about this, we want practical advice. We don't want any ambiguity. Nobody should leave this conversation without a very clear playbook of exactly what to do today, tomorrow, a week from now, 30 days from now. And the goal is, hey, if you put in $10,000, you hustle, you put in the sweat equity, you can pay that back in 2-3 months. You can have your first booking in a couple weeks. You can have your first event in 30 days. Like, we just want to know how to slay.
Yeah. I'll double down on it. Like, everyone should listen to the end of this episode, because if you do exactly what he says, you will have a business that's generating, potentially 10K, 20K a month in a very short order. Like, there's tons of entrepreneurs on the internet who are looking for their next business idea. They say they want actionable advice on how to go quit their job and start a business. Well, you're in the next hour, you're going to get detailed instructions that we've seen work over and over and over again with tons of coffee carts and flash quotes. So get your pencils out and listen up.
Yeah,
Yes.
and this isn't true, by the way, only for mobile coffee catering. I would say this is actually like the playbook for mobile service business, service providers who go to an on-site destination. And so photo booths, mobile bar. Of course, there's some nuance of exact content, but for some of the more like tech forward stuff, website, Google business profile things we'll cover, it's actually the exact same for all service businesses.
And maybe we'll do a different episode on each one. So stay tuned if you're into coffee and you love pouring lattes. But if you'd rather do bar or photo booth, we'll hit you next time.
Yep.
So I just quit my job. AI has encroached. I no longer am making what I used to make. Maybe my skills are becoming obsolete. And I think, you know what I need to do? I need to get out there and interact with people, bring joy to the world, because we know robots cannot pour coffee and probably won't for 100 years. So what do I do? Today I wake up and what do I do?
Well, I would say actually maybe hold on to your job if you can until you've got maybe your first couple events.
Okay.
So day one, start building your website. Actually, I know it's doesn't necessarily feel intuitive, and it's definitely not as exciting as starting to build your coffee cart, but you need to go get your domain. You need to start building your website. My preferred website builder is Squarespace, I think. It's what I use. It's just really user-friendly, easy to get a great looking design. The reason for that is because Google is going to sandbox your domain for some amount of time. Google's reputation depends on, showing trustworthy results. And so if a random website pops up today and is suddenly instantly on the top of Google results, that could be actually very dangerous for Google's reputation. So the first thing you do, regardless of what service business, what you're trying to do, go buy your domain, start working on your website. So I also recommend having keywords in your website. So it should be, let's say, Aspen coffee catering or whatever. Like ideally if you think you will never ever expand to other cities than the main metro area you're in, then you probably could use like the main metro area city name in your domain. But if you do think you may expand to other areas, then you'll want something, something with coffee catering. So business name, coffeecatering.com. That's your domain. You start building your website, make it a 5-page website at most. Just start simple.
One more thing on domain, Justin, just to jump in here real quick. A pro tip for the growth hackers out there. Like Justin said, starting to age your domain will help you with Google. There's a hack here, which is you can buy an aged domain.
That's true.
So, it may or may not always make sense if you really set on a certain business name for your card, or you really have a particular one you're attached to. But if you're not, you can buy an expiring aged domain to get a head start on your SEO and your ranking. So one of my buddies, shout out to David Nix, he has a website, yournextdomain.com. You can just go to GoDaddy auctions or whatever, but you can constantly find pre-aged domains that people are letting lapse that have the word coffee in them, and buy one that already has backlinks and stuff like that if you really want to turbo boost your climb up the Google ranks.
Yeah, very
Like a
true.
fine wine, fine aged.
Exactly.
Exactly
It's
true.
like buying an old bottle of Pappy Van Winkle versus going and buying some bottom shelf and trying to age it in your own cellar.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. That being said, though, like the aging process doesn't necessarily take forever, depending, at least in coffee catering, it doesn't necessarily take forever, and you can see new domains start to rank, but it will be faster for sure if you buy an aged domain. So day one, you want to start coffee catering business, buy your domain, your business name, coffeecatering.com, build it on Squarespace, make it a 5-page website. You want your homepage talking about your services and where you're located. You want a menu, gallery, pricing tabs, and a contact tab. And that's basically it, like a 5-page website. And then now you do need photos, I will say. So get that stuff live, get your keywords out there, build your website, and from there, now you're just letting that simmer. It's going to simmer for a month or two. After you build your website, now's probably the time to start ordering or figuring out what your coffee cart, whether you want to buy or build. I probably recommend just buying somewhere. I love, simple carts or Woodruss carts can be a great option. I am a big, big fan of flat packing carts. They give you tremendous, just operational flexibility, and, you will need that right away. You'll have a bunch of small, semi-inexpensive parts, all your milk pitchers and pitcher rinsers and plumbing parts and all of those things, those you actually want to start buying ASAP. You want to buy your cart and you want to buy all those little knickknacks ASAP, because you'll start putting everything together and realize, oh, you forgot this, you forgot that, and you want to make sure you've got all those things. I usually save the equipment purchase for last, although I know that's the most psychologically exciting, especially if you don't own an espresso machine. Buy that first, right? Even though you don't need it till you actually go out and service your event. Buying that last, it gives you a little more cash flow, but I know it's probably exciting because you probably want to set it up in your kitchen and start pulling shots, and that's fine too if you've got the money for it.
So day one, you can get your domain and set up your site. I mean, that's a realistic thing, I think, with Squarespace. Like, get a good theme, at least get the shell of your site done before you go to sleep tonight, right?
Yes, I mean, it may take you 6 to 8 hours of work, and that's assuming you actually know what you should be doing. A lot of times, I know when I first was building my early websites, I had complete just decision paralysis. I did not know what pages should even be there, what to call them, what content to include. So that was a little bit overwhelming, but these days there's a lot more good examples. Just, look to maybe browse around, search for coffee catering in a few big metro areas, look at a few websites for reference, but really just a 5-page site is all you need.
Yeah. I would, another nerdy tech tip here, like the reason that some of these pages are ranking, so you want to steal as much as you can from the pages that are ranking 1, 2, and 3 for organic Google search results. So the best thing you can do is let those tell you how your site should look and what it should say, right? So Google coffee catering Los Angeles, coffee catering Denver, coffee catering San Antonio, and see who's ranking 1, 2, and 3, and then copy paste their sites into ChatGPT and say, hey, what's common about why are these ranking so well? What keywords are in here? What keywords should I be using for my site? Help me make a plan. Use AI to write the copy for you and build the site for you based on what's already working in the.
Yeah, that is a good suggestion for sure.
Justin, why Squarespace? What's wrong with Wix? What's wrong with WordPress?
WordPress can be really difficult to edit. You know, it has a ton of flexibility, but can be very difficult to edit. Depends on what like editing layer you put on your WordPress. Wix is, oh man, Wix is, you know, we found from the many Wix users that are on Flash Quotes right now, it's just got so many, I don't know why it has so many weird quirks about, you know, when you try to embed stuff or when you try to position stuff or the way they layer things. Just it has a little more flexibility than Squarespace, but a ton more headache in my opinion.
Yeah. I asked the question tongue in cheek as a front end web developer because yeah, your site is not going to look very good if it's on Wix or WordPress. You run into so many issues on different mobile screen sizes and different browsers. There's bugs that you don't know about that we've just seen time and time again headache with getting Wix and WordPress websites to look good today. Not to say it can't be done, it's just harder than it needs to be. So if
Yeah.
you're non-techie, I would second Justin's recommendation of Squarespace. And if you're a little more sophisticated, you could look at Webflow or Framer, but Squarespace is probably the quickest and easiest way that's still going to have a really great looking mobile responsive site with very little effort. And mobile's key. It's something a lot of people don't think about when they're building websites, but a lot of your leads are going to be looking at you on mobile.
Yeah. Probably 50% at least and growing. But yeah, mobile is key. Okay, so you spent a few days building out your website. You're going and you're figuring out what equipment you need to buy. You figured out what coffee cart you need to buy.
Seems
The
like we
other
need to give them a list of that stuff, right? This is action packed, baby. You don't have to do it
Yeah,
on, but maybe after this we can put in the show notes like a shopping list. Or why are you looking at me like that? Is that a secret, Justin? You can't
probably no,
share?
it's not. It's just that we custom build so much of our stuff so that like I don't actually have that shopping list that'd be applicable to other people because we build so much of our own plumbing and we literally build our own carts and things like that. So I don't
So
have the
let's talk.
shopping list.
Let's zoom out then a little bit on the cart landscape, right? You kind of breezed over it, but you have a couple choices, right? There's like pre-built, prefabricated cart manufacturers, and then there's roll your own. So
Yeah.
maybe talk about some of the big names there and what are the pros and cons of that of the.
Yeah, I mean, simple carts and like wood carts are, they're ready to go. Their lead times may actually be significant. So getting those cart orders placed as soon as possible, probably, right around the time you start building your website could be critical because they may take a little while to come in. To me, the really critical things are, what grinder are you going to use? What espresso machine are you going to use? I believe you must have a pitcher rinser on your coffee cart just for like bar flow efficiency. So then what like pump and accumulator are you going to use? I know a lot of people recommend like the ones from Cafe Works. There's a few. So Simple Carts does like their hub system, little pricier. Cafe Works does like a little more affordable accumulator tank and water pump that would be ready to go to plumb in your pitcher rinser, your machine, and all that. So those are kind of the most accessible done for you plumbing things. And plumbing is one of the most, in my opinion, intimidating and confusing parts of starting a coffee cart when you're actually building out the coffee cart. I know it was for me. Like I have entire graveyards of weird plumbing parts I purchased thinking, trying to accomplish some plumbing tasks that ended up being wrong. So yeah, you choose your machine, choose your grinder, get your water pump and accumulator tank, get a pitcher rinser. Those are kind of like the skeleton of your coffee cart. And I know it sounds funny, but choosing your cooler is really important too. A lot of people do like the really nice like Yeti coolers, and those can be good. They can be really heavy as well. Like rotomolded coolers are really heavy. My favorite brand actually is Rugged Road. They are super, super light. They're about the similar price to a Yeti, but like half the price. I think they're like, or sorry, half the weight. So they might be like 12 pounds for like a 65 quart cooler that can carry like 4 gallons of whole milk, a few quarts of oat, almond, half and half, some ice in there. And they're just super light. And that means that instead of that cooler loaded up weighing, it's going to weigh 40 pounds instead of 50, or maybe even more. So that extra like 20% weight savings, or really 50% weight on just the cooler, but 20% on the overall load of the cooler can be really, really nice. So those are kind of the big things. All the small accessories are a little bit just more, nuance and preference. What portafilter, if you want to get a custom portafilter, or your milk pitchers, your shot glasses, your barware, your mats, your bar mats, things like that are all subject to more personal preference, and they're pretty small purchases between, like, 15 to maybe $15 to $75. The thing that I actually, especially for mobile coffee caters, I think about a lot more is with tampers. I am a huge fan of force calibrated auto leveling tampers, especially when you're trying to crank through a huge line of people in a mobile environment. These tampers will make sure that your tamping level, you're tamping at the right pressure, your shots can be super consistent. And that's where I feel like that's like puck prep and tamping is where a lot can go wrong in coffee, or when you're making shots of espresso. So I love, like, Happy Tamper or the Normcore tamper are kind of our preferences, although there are other brands out there. So those are kind of the core pillars, in my opinion, of the coffee cart setup. And then all the other stuff is just kind of small accessories.
So you might need to order that on day 2, like really early on in the process, because of the lead time, especially for carts and
Yeah.
espresso machines, grinder and whatnot. Okay.
For sure. Yeah. Some people, a good number of people do have good luck with, their local woodworker. And so you could go in, maybe show them, find some inspiration on Instagram, take it to your local woodworker and say, hey, like, I like the look of this cart. I want it to be flat packing. And can you build this? What's it going to cost? And you could get a good result from that. If you fancy yourself a woodworker or want to build your own, you can do it, but you're probably going to make it too heavy, and it's probably going to
Yeah.
be something that you need to pay to replace in very short order. If you're building your own cart, just accept that it's a hobby and a personal thing you want to do for yourself. It probably is not actually going to be the highest performing cart that you could take to an event.
And if you do try to do that, here are some of the most common mistakes we've heard from other people who with their first cart are always the same. It's like, I built it too heavy, I built it too wide so it can't fit into all of the spaces where I need to serve. I built it so that it can't fit into my car. Like, I need to rent a trailer to move it. So just keep those things in mind. The lighter and the more nimble, the better, because you may get events where you need to.
Yeah. Yeah. Countertop dimensions. What we do at Goodhart, our carts are a little smaller, but they do fit into all sedans. The countertop, I believe, is like 48 or 49 inches long, which is smaller than a lot of coffee carts. So it doesn't quite have as much of a presence as a 5 foot or a 6 foot cart. But dang, if it isn't nice to work with, and if it fits into every sedan. So, if you are looking to build your own, I would probably recommend not exceeding a 5 foot length of 5 feet and a width probably of about 28 inches. That's going to fit through almost any door. A 30-inch width on your countertop could start to hit more door frames and to have more issues, maybe fitting into elevators and things like that. But those are the dimensions we recommend. Also, don't make them too tall. I forget what ours are. I think they're around like a 36-inch height from the floor to the very top of the countertop. You don't really want too much higher than that. You want a pretty standard countertop. Any kitchen countertop height is probably what you want it to be. This is even more important in mobile catering because you have to lift a 50 to 70-pound machine, or your baristas have to. And so if you're a little shorter or a little smaller, in any way, you're going to not have a fun time with a very high countertop.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
so, like,
on.
the simple carts, looking at their site, I mean, 2,800 to 200 is kind of the range. Most are 2,800, it looks like. How would you compare that to, building your own cart? Are you going to save a lot building your own cart, and it's kind of a time value trade-off?
You probably will be. You'll be probably weeks building it. You'll have to buy a bunch of you potentially have to buy a bunch of power tools. You'll need finishing stuff. You're going to need, to put some sort of lacquer or water sealant on it. You're going to need to sand it, and you may stain it as well. So in the end, it will take you weeks most likely to build a nice polished cart. So do you want, you know Do you want to do that? Do you like that stuff? That's fine. But it's going to take a while, and it
Yeah.
will probably be more expensive than you think, especially if you have to buy tools.
And then they have these hubs and hub packages, the water, all that. It's like 1,200 to 1,800. So I guess all in, if you're getting a cart and the package for the water and the plumbing and everything, simple carts, you might spend like 5,000 on that whole setup.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what are you spending on your espresso machine and your grinder?
It depends on which ones you go with. I will say Cafe Works, you can get the plumbing there for around $570. There's like a home espresso machine, complete component. It's around $600. That has, the accumulator pump, the plumbing and all that. So can be a little more affordable. Totally depends. Honestly, I don't really recommend spending more than about $1,500 on your grinder. Sure, I know some people really want, and again, if you want to, you can, but we've just seen that about a $1,500 grinder, there's a lot of great options in the market and it's more affordable. And same thing, like I don't really want to spend more than 4 to 5,000. Honestly, we spend less than that on our machine. But I know it's exciting. Like for a lot of folks out there, it's really exciting to be like, yeah, I've got my La Marzocco and my Malcona grinder. And that is fine, but just recognize it means that if you grow, your second cart is going to come significantly later because of the expensive equipment.
Gotcha. So you can 3K for the cart. Let's say you do 500 for this. What's it called? Something Works?
Cafe Works.
Cafe Works for the plumbing. So that's 35. 1,500 so that's 5,000 once you throw in the grinder. Then you've got about, if you can do 4,000 for the espresso machine, you're basically like 9,000 into all that. You have 1,000 to spare for kind of all the catch-all of all these other parts and pieces, tampers, probably ranging from 15 to $100 for these like little things, right? You've got your domain, you've got your website. That stuff is really fair, quite cheap. So you're coming up on the 10K there to get going. But it seems doable.
Yep. And then a critical thing is one, you need photos now, right? Like as I mentioned about the website earlier, you need a gallery tab, and having good photos is one of the most critical, almost sales support things you can have. You've got to have great photos on your website, and you need to actually go do a sample event. I have helped people start from ground zero. We'll eventually I have them on the podcast, a photo booth company from ground zero, and also walk people through starting coffee catering businesses from ground zero. Getting photos and doing your first like sample event is so critical. Those can often be combined. So you might, set a date for yourself. If you're ambitious and want to, set a deadline from 3 months after, 2 to 3 months after you first create your website, set that date in your calendar. That is the day where you do full demo sample event. You invite your friends, your family, and you potentially double it up and do a photo shoot there as well, because you need photos and you need the experience of actually going out from start to finish, setting up, serving, breaking down. You're going to find all these weird little issues you didn't really realize. And so that first event is a great opportunity for you to build up your gallery, which is critical, and to iron out just the issues and kinks that you may have in your setup so that you're ready for your first real paid events.
So what's the fastest you could do that? I mean, if you order everything on day 2, I wonder if maybe it's coming in a couple weeks, you've got everything?
The cart lead times are a little longer, usually like 4 to 6 weeks in some cases.
So what are you doing while you're waiting on your cart?
Well, yeah, I mean, honestly, probably refining your website. If you do get like your plumbing and stuff in, there is a little bit of a waiting game unless you like time this perfectly. I don't have like that full on, I guess I'd have to map out like some crazy ideal timeline, but most people don't want to start that fast anyways. Like to me, it's a pretty natural thing. Like, you're spending a week or two building your website, you're figuring out, you're maybe doing some equipment research, okay, you finally purchase your equipment. Oh, your kid got sick. Oh, you got busy at work for a week or two. two, okay, back to it. So it's fairly rare that someone just has zero other responsibilities with 10K burning a hole in their pocket and they're just ready to go, right? So
Yeah. So I was just thinking of a couple other things you could do if you're trying to hustle while you're waiting for your cart. Like one is get leads, right? For future dates that are past when your cart's going to arrive, right? Start trying to source some, cold call people, talk to people. I'm curious, Justin, if how you would think about jump starting your lead flow from zero if you have no SEO yet. Like get on who can you get on the phone with and start trying to make some action happen? Like where would you be looking?
yeah, I think actually I should rewind a little bit. You want to also definitely create your Google business profile right away. Maybe, in this gap period. The website's more important, but Google business profile is right up there. And so, yeah, you'll have to verify that and then you need that ready so that on your first events you can be building up reviews, because that is one of the most important things you can do for your business is get reviews to your Google business profile. So definitely that. You could be cold emailing. You could try. Now you have to be good at cold emailing, and it's hard to be good at cold emailing, but they can have success in, reaching out, offering free tastings to catering directors, hotel managers, food and beverage directors at various hotels, catering companies, things like that. It's tough because you don't want to do that too early when you don't have enough experience, right? Because you also don't have client interaction experience. And I know through helping other people start up, you're not, most folks, unless you have a background in sales and or customer support, customer service, they may not have the instincts and the training and the experience to do really, really well with these leads, and to know how to cold email. So I don't know, like maybe be watching YouTube, get in some Alex Hormozy content. You've got to start building those skills too, because I've seen it so much where the new coffee catering business owners, they don't really know how to guide people through the booking process. They may not even have a booking process yet. And so I do think that's where flash quotes can come in really, really powerfully, because we have so many best practices built into flash quotes to where it goes from quote to booking, and then we've got booking confirmation, and then the timelines and things like that for you or for the baristas. And so having a system like flash quotes will make sure that you have a good structure for how to walk people through the quote process, the booking process, and then getting that event locked in. But you will have a lot of questions. If you don't already have friends or mentors in your industry, it may be worth starting to connect with them, whether it's coffee catering owners in other cities. I know sometimes it can get a little funny if you're in the same city as another coffee caterer. Sometimes it can be hard to be like super, super buddy, but follow other coffee caterers on Instagram, ask them for some tips and advice. Of course, listen to the Flash Quotes podcast. This is a time to really be growing your knowledge and experience so that when you start to have a lot more customer interaction, you'll know how to handle the sometimes weird situations, weird requests and questions that can come up from when you've got real clients and bookings coming in.
I think the other thing you could do if you just to get some reps while you're waiting for or assembling your cart is um, do more lightweight services that don't require the full plumbing and espresso setup, right? We see people do cold brew service or bottled lattes or other things that where you could literally serve it off a folding table and just post up somewhere and do it by the cup, or try and get an invitation to go somewhere where you could do it for free and just get practice doing that. That might be helpful too.
For sure. Yeah. That's very common for people who don't have the money to buy an espresso machine and grinder off the bat. They will go with, either pour overs, cold brew, some other or just a more affordable option, which is usually like, drip, cold brew, pour over, that sort of thing.
Jump into the Google business just to drill into that a little bit more, right? That's the way you get listed on Google Maps and allow people to put in Google reviews. And increasingly, that's a super important thing because of the legitimacy it adds. It also causes you to show up in a different area of the search results. So it's not just the organic page, but it's what we call the map pack, where you generally will see 2 to 3 different businesses in there. And that's a place where, because it's a little bit more involved and nuanced to get there, it doesn't happen automatically. you can actually get an edge in some cities and not have as much competition there. But I know it's pretty involved as far as validating your business and your location. And I think they've become a little bit more strict in that based off some of our conversations. If you're talking to somebody getting started and just here are the top things you should do to very expeditiously get listed and get your Google business profile, what does that look like, Justin?
Well, I wish I could answer it in a direct way, but a lot of it is based on Google's algorithm. I don't know how they determine what verification methods they will allow you to go through. Back in the day, it used to be like a postcard. They would send you a postcard to a real address and verify you that way. I don't know if they even do that anymore. I've had times where I didn't have to do any verification. I've had times where I had to do like this weird video verification and literally like film a nearby cross street and film the sign on my business and go in the door and film and show my equipment, resubmit that like 5 or 6 different times to get it right. And they don't really give you that much feedback. So there's a few different options, and I don't know how Google's algorithm determines which verification method it's going to trigger for you.
In this
But
case, you're likely don't have a warehouse or anything, of course. You're just getting started. Are you putting in your home address? Is that even something that's possible for a Google business profile, or how do you approach it when you're just starting out?
they seem to be cracking down on that a little bit with using home addresses. It still does seem to work. You could start it as a service area business and that requires no address, and that can be okay. But the problem is that service area businesses have a very, very hard time ranking in the map pack. I don't know why that is. Businesses with real addresses seem to outrank them almost every time. So, for me, I always put our headquarters addresses. There's also other ways to do this. You can maybe do a virtual office. It still can be tough. You still will have a pretty rigorous Google verification process, but depending on your city, there might be a virtual office. We may start exploring also, if you may not be able to afford this right when you're starting out. I guess this is a little more of an advanced strategy where you maybe would go, get an office at a co-working space, pay 200 to 500 a month, do the Google business verification there, and have that address or location be in the core service area that you're trying to serve. And even if maybe your commissary, your own garage, or wherever you're storing your equipment might be different, maybe it's outside the city, but having your Google business profile in the service area where you really want to serve and having an address attached to it will be key. So I do think that's a strategy Goodhart may start exploring, where maybe 8 to 10 miles apart, we may have another office and another Google business profile we really lease, and that really is one of our locations, but it's not like a warehouse location. It's primarily like a lead gen location that we build reviews on, and then we show up in a larger radius for the map pack, as opposed to like maybe it was a 5 mile radius here, and now 5 or 10 miles away will show up again really strongly because we have a physical presence with good reviews there. So that's a little more advanced, but still, I mean, thinking about Google business profiles is critical. I've heard this was just, I think, a Twitter post or something where, an SEO guy I follow said something like, people who rank in the Google Map Pack get like X more leads than even the number one organic search result on Google. That could vary, of course, by industry and city, but Google Maps is extremely important. I also think that actually with the way AI is going, I think right now it's primarily people who are ranking well in Google who also get presented on like AI search results. And I think so that's kind of a double benefit. Of course, right now most of AI searches are informational. We're getting more and more transactional AI searches all the time. And so doing well in Google, I think has a lot, Google business profile, I'll say, has a lot of rippling effects that seem like they're pointing toward good results in AI search and things like that too.
So 2 months from today, it's realistic to have like your first event that's free for your friends and family, but it's like a dress rehearsal for we're ready to rock and roll.
Correct.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay. And all the while during that time, you're going out, you're talking to people, you're trying to meet other business owners within this space, maybe in other cities, you're building out your site, you're trying to get leads. You might be, to Zach's point, serving things just on a folding table just to get reps and work that muscle of being out there and hustling and engaging with folks. Are you realistic to get a lead? Like when do you get your first lead? Obviously, you get that lead by embedding flash quotes. That's a no-brainer. So you embed flash quotes on your site and you start to get traction. You start to get eyeballs. When do I try and target getting my first lead for, a book that I'm quoting? And then when would be a good benchmark for getting my first booking?
Well, you know, you'll probably need to be on the first page of Google in your area to get any meaningful lead volume. And so that's going to depend on your SEO, the website building that you did. We have a webinar that talks about how to improve that. We really also recommend folks like Localize. Localize Growth does a great job helping with SEO and building out these 5-page websites that can help folks rank in Google. So if you're on the first page of Google, you will start to get some traffic and some leads. You probably will need 5 leads before you get your first booking. I have noticed this relationship where the further down on Google you are, the lower number of leads you get, but the intent of those leads is very high. Because if they've scrolled through like multiple pages to find you and submitted your form, you don't get many leads, but the booking percentage may be higher. But generally, we do tend to see companies' booking rates equalize. And this is for people who are good, like equalize around 15 to 30%. So to estimate like that you could have a 20% booking rate, you've got to get 5 leads probably to get your first booking.
So when you're talking about you're working with a photo booth from ground up, obviously markets matter hugely, and I think this is in a smaller market. Are they on the first page yet? And how long? If not, they are.
Yep. Took about a month to get on the first page. And then now we also did start running some ads, a low ads budget. And so setting up Google Ads is its own thing, but the results can be good. I do recommend starting really small, like $5 a day, just to start getting some more visibility. And that could be a great way to bridge the gap between, you buried on page 2, 3, 4. Well, a Google Ads is going to have you show right up top on page 1, and so that can be if you set up Google Ads wrong, it can be an absolute money sink. But it's pretty straightforward. So if you set it up, spend $5-10 a day, you could definitely expedite your lead generation and when you'll get your first booking.
So a super important target by maybe that 2-month mark is like, how do I get on page 1 of Google?
Yeah.
Because that's going to be the predominant lead flow. That still is where a huge amount of intent for your service is going to be captured there.
Yep. 100%.
And then you need to treat those leads like gold.
Yes.
Even there's a vast difference in the customers we see and caterers on treating leads as though they're just, I'm going to let some automated email go, or I'm going to send them one note and I'm just going to wait with twiddling my thumbs. And the people that are actively calling, they're crafting personalized emails, they're texting them, the level of engagement makes a huge difference on getting that first booking. And you can't underestimate the value of getting that first booking. Like that's got to feel so good. It was awesome even just like seeing, Grish get that first booking. It's like, heck yeah, man, that's awesome. And it gives you a level of momentum and energy. Like this is real. There's a pathway here for me to make real money, potentially leave my job, go full time into this. But I think treating those leads like gold is a super critical part of that.
Absolutely. Yep. Calling, texting them. I know, especially this is where it's always people with sales experience who get going the fastest. So like, that's just the fact of the matter. Now, having your industry skills is table stakes. You have to be, in this case, a moderately good barista. You got to be able to make drinks. That's just table stakes. It's people who have some sales skills or who develop sales skills who do the best and really rise to the top, grow the fastest, get their first booking sooner. And so that comes, through good, bedside manner, as they call it. And really just one of my biggest things if you're starting out is just don't ask those. Please don't say, let me know if you have any questions. That's one of my least favorite sales, email sign-offs. Hate that phrase when I'm trying to make a sale, when I'm trying to close an event. Let me know if you have any questions is one of my most hated phrases. We talk about this in other podcasts too, about those critical questions. You should be walking people through the journey by questions like, is this the first time you've booked a coffee cart? Do you know everything that's on our menu? Have you seen photos of our cart? All of your questions should be, or all of the things that you sign off with on your first emails to customers should be questions, direct questions, the last thing you say in the email that will help walk them through the buying process and through the journey. They'll appreciate it too, as opposed to, let me know if you have any questions. Just no, please don't ever say that in a sales email. So, quick recap. We're about out of time. If you want to start a coffee cart, go to Squarespace, get your domain, start building your 5-page website with a homepage, menu, gallery, contact, and I don't know, I guess, is there one more? I can't remember it. 5-page website. Let's see. From there, you need to order your cart or start building your cart right away. In the background, your domain is aging. Your cart, it's going to take a while to build, or it's going to probably have a decent lead time from the manufacturer. So you're ordering that. You create your Google business profile. You're getting all of your knickknacks and your accessories in place. Put a date in the calendar. Circle a date in the calendar when you will do your first real friends and family event. That'll give you a target and give you something to really work toward. You gather your things, you order your espresso machine, your grinder, you go out and do that mock event. You get photographs of that event. As soon as those photos are up, put them in your gallery, and from there, work with someone on your SEO, either you need to be learning about SEO or you need to be working with someone like Localized Growth, because you got to get on the first page. And once you're on the first page, you'll start seeing the leads come through. You'll probably need about 5 leads to get your first booking. And, if you want to book a call with us, now I will say, I absolutely love talking with people and getting on calls with people who move quickly, who do this stuff quickly, and who really execute with some urgency. So if you are one of those people and you want to start a coffee cart business, I'm happy to chat with you on a quick, 15, 30-minute call. It's free. But how I like these calls to go is, we chat, we get some homework, some action items. You go away, you do those things. We come back after they're done. We talk about the next thing. That's how I've seen the most successful people, the fastest growing, most profitable, businesses that I've helped either been involved in their startup. That's how they work. It's like a 30-minute call. You go do all the things we talked about. We talk once those are done, rinse and repeat. That's how real businesses, in my opinion, are born. Because we need to have that quick feedback loop of action, feedback, action, feedback, action, feedback. It's not some big master grand, 12-month plan. It's 1-2 weeks at a time. Action, feedback, action, feedback. Sign up for Flash Quotes, flashquotes.com. Book a short call with me. If you're interested in this stuff and you're an action taker, you're ready to get going and need a little more guidance. We've got a lot of other great episodes, so please go through our backlog. I think you'll get a lot of benefit out of those as well. We talk about equipment choice. We talk about the 5 stages of growing your coffee catering business. So a lot of great resources there. Any closing words from you, Zach or Daniel?
Drop a comment if you're going to start a coffee cart, and we'll be watching.
Heck yeah. Cheers. Good luck out there.